Welcome back! In the previous episode, I told you guys how the primordials came to be from nothing, and we stopped when Uranus was castrated, and that led Gaia to give birth to all the remaining Titans, the Cyclops, the hundred-handed monsters. But in this episode, it's like the immediate aftermath and the rise and fall of the Titans. I got myself another boba tea. This one is from my local boba tea shop that literally only sells boba tea. I'm just glad that the shop is only a few minutes away from my apartment, and I got the brown sugar tea with tapioca pearls and lychee jelly because this combination is perfection. I definitely recommend 10 on 10. So sit down, grab a snack, and let me tell you the story of how the Titans rose to power and eventually fell from grace. So the Titans, the Cyclops, and the hundred-handed monsters, they're all out now. Kronos is still fresh off of killing his father, Uranus, and as the myth states, he castrates his father and then throws the severed remains in the ocean. The remains in the ocean that causes the water to foam up, and from that foam comes Aphrodite. She's said to rise from the ocean fully formed and then drifting ashore, which is also why she was given the name Aphrodite, which means foam-born. Some say that because Aphrodite was born as a result of the waters, she is often connected with the sea, the beauty and fertility, and how violent her birth was. This version of the story, it links to how violent the process of creation actually is. Which is nice symbolism and all, because even after all these years, childbirth seems to be just as terrifying. There's another version of Aphrodite's origin story. This story states that she was the daughter of Zeus, the king of the gods, and the Titaness, Dione. Honestly, I don't know which version of the story is more accurate, but for the sake of this series, I'm going to stick with Aphrodite being the daughter of the foam that was created in the ocean. Just because it will be easier for me to keep track of the family tree as the episodes go by. Family trees themselves are really complicated. I could have gone without drawing the Greek god's family tree, but I guess it's too late now. Gotta commit. Back to the story now. Kronos kills Uranus, he looks at the adamant sickle that his mother gave him. There is no more use for it, so he throws it into the ocean, and it is said that from that sickle gave birth to the island of Corfu. And given that the island is sorta shaped like a sickle, that is really cool. And now with Uranus gone, Kronos has to step into power, and he becomes the king of the Titans. And he's basically associated with being the Titan lord of time, harvest, agriculture, and the cycles of life. He rules over the earth, the sea, the skies, and his older sister, Rhea, she becomes the queen of the Titans. But the thing is, just like father, like son, I guess, Kronos does not care for his other siblings. He treated the Titans okay, but the Cyclops and the hundred-handed monsters, he basically throws them into Tartarus, and in order to make sure that they don't ever come out, he sets a dragon, the Campi, as their guard. This age, the time where the Titans were ruled under Kronos and Rhea, it was said to be the golden age. There were no rules, no laws, everyone was supposedly so righteous, there was no quote-unquote bad in the world, apparently. Can you sense my sarcasm? I hope I laid it thick enough. You'll see why in Pandora's Box episode, but just wait. Like I said, there was no bad in this world under Kronos' reign. Time goes on, Kronos secures his place as a ruler of the Titans and then marries Rhea, his sister, essentially Lannistering up this place. And one fine day, Kronos has a chat with his mother, Gaia. And Gaia tells him about the prophecy/curse that Uranus put on him before he died. Basically, the curse states that just like what he did to his father, like Kronos killed his father, Kronos will also be deposed from his position as king by one of his own children. This prophecy basically looked at Kronos and went, "My child, you reap what you sow." But the thing is, he is already married, and his wife is already about to have a child. The first one was Demeter, and when Demeter was born, Kronos remembers the prophecy, and he becomes paranoid that the prophecy will come true, so he doesn't wait. He devours the baby Demeter as soon as she is born, because apparently, by his logic, if he devours them as soon as the children are born, they won't have a chance to grow up, and if they don't have a chance to grow up, they cannot kill him, and so that way, the prophecy cannot come true. Honestly, a very, very good plan. Solid 10 out of 10. Except for the having children part, and then devouring them part, and then not remembering that that is exactly what his father did. And how did that turn out for Uranus? Anyway, so Demeter is born first, and she is devoured by Kronos as soon as she is born. Then it's Hestia, and then Hera, and then Hades, and then Poseidon. And as soon as the 5 kids were born, Kronos would come in, and then he would devour each and every single one of them. And every time Kronos does that, Rhea is heartbroken. She has all these kids, and every single one of them ends up being taken by Kronos. So the next time she becomes pregnant, she starts to hatch a plan. She calls up her mother-in-law? She calls up Gaia, and she goes, I need him to stop taking my children away from me. So Gaia and Rhea, they form a plan to save the next child. When it's time to give birth, Rhea secludes herself and secretly gives birth to Zeus in Crete. And when Kronos comes over and he's like, come on, give me the baby, I'm hungry, Rhea hands him a pre-prepared bundle. And Kronos, he doesn't care about anything because Rhea has already done this 5 times before. This time, it's not going to change. So he thinks that the bundle Rhea gave him was the 6th child, Zeus. And with zero suspicion, he eats the bundle and goes about his days. But the thing is, the bundle that Rhea gave Kronos to eat this time was just a stone that was swaddled in clothes. According to one version of the mythology, before Kronos came over to eat Zeus, Rhea and Gaia, basically Zeus's mother and grandmother, they hide Zeus in a cave in Crete. He was raised by a goat named Amalthea, and he was surrounded by Curetes. Curetes are these dancers. They worship a Phrygian goddess by singing and drumming and dancing. So basically, anytime baby Zeus would just cry, these dancers, they would start singing and dancing and drumming as if they were worshipping their goddess. But it was basically to drown out baby Zeus's cries. So Kronos could not find Zeus even if he wanted to. Another version of this story states that Amalthea, the goat, she was not exactly a goat. She was a nymph. And she comes up with a different plan. You see, Kronos, he was a Titan lord that ruled over the earth, the skies, and the sea. So basically, there were not many places to hide Zeus without his father knowing about it. So Amalthea, the nymph, she makes sure that Zeus grows up in this cradle that she hangs on a tree. That way, he was suspended between the earth, the skies, and the seas, and his father could not find him. So time goes on, Zeus grows up, and he comes to know about his brothers and sisters and tries to save them. So as a young man, Zeus goes back to his father. But the thing is, Kronos still thinks that Zeus, the 6th child, is dead since he ate him. So he doesn't recognize the young man that came to him as his own son, Zeus. Zeus uses that opportunity to become the cupbearer for Kronos. Then he colludes with the Titan goddess of wisdom, Metis, and Metis gives Zeus a vomiting potion. And because Zeus was a cupbearer, he slips it into Kronos' drink, and Kronos basically regurgitates his other 5 children. And while Kronos was regurgitating his children, Zeus goes to the prison where Kronos locked up the Cyclops and 100-handed giants. And these Cyclops and 100-handed giant monsters, they become allies in the battle against the Titans. So now, Zeus has his brothers and sisters, the Cyclops and the Hecatonchires, the 100-handed monsters, all on his side. And all of them go against Kronos and the Titans, and this war was called the Titanomachy, which basically lasted 10 years. By the end of the battle, the Titans lose. Zeus and his siblings, the Cyclops and the 100-handed giants, they win. And so after the battle, Zeus takes Kronos and all the other titans that supported Kronos in the battle and throws them into Tartarus. After the battle, as a token of gratitude basically, for releasing them, the Hekaton Kyries, the hundred-handed giants, they offer to be protectors by throwing rocks and boulders at the Olympic gods' enemies. And once the titans were thrown into Tartarus after the war, the hundred-handed giants, they become the guards of Tartarus. They basically make sure that the titans do not escape. The Cyclops, as a thank you, they build Zeus the lightning bolt that eventually Percy Jackson was wrongly accused to have stolen. They also built Poseidon his trident, for Hades, they present him with the helmet of darkness. Zeus proclaims Mount Olympus as his home base and called all the other remaining titans and gods and makes them choose their allegiance. So all the gods that supported Zeus in overthrowing Kronos, they were able to keep their powers. And so Zeus's siblings, Hestia, she becomes the goddess of the hearth and home. Demeter, she becomes the goddess of harvest and agriculture. Hera becomes the goddess of marriage, women, family, and protecting women during childbirth. She becomes the wife of Zeus and also the queen of the Olympic gods. The three brothers, Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus, they basically divide the world among themselves. Zeus takes dominion over the skies. Also, fun fact, in some translations, Zeus is literally called Skyfather. Make of that what you will. Anyway, moving on. Poseidon takes the waters and Hades takes dominion over the underworld. But that wasn't all. There were several titans under Kronos' rule that did not get any power. Like Styx, for example, and her children Nike, Kratos, Zelus, and Baia. Because of their help, Kronos makes Styx the great oath of the gods, which is why in some Greek mythology retellings, whenever someone has to make a promise, you can sometimes read something like, "I swear by the river Styx." Other titans like Prometheus that sided with Zeus and the Olympian gods, Zeus made sure that they retained their honors. With that, we have the new age of the gods, the Olympians, ruling from Mount Olympus, which is said to be above the Empire State Building, according to some stories. And that is the story of the rise and fall of Titans. In the next episode, I will tell you about the initial struggles that the new Olympian gods faced right after they formed their power. They basically had to face Typhon and Prometheus stealing the fire. It was a whole thing. So stay tuned. Until next time, stay safe. Sweet dreams and good night.